Well, let's get started here. And so welcome everybody. I'm really excited for this second Vibrant Life community class. We're doing it on getting off the blood sugar roller coaster. And the reason why I love this subject so much is because blood sugar affects every other system of the body. It's something that's going to affect your hormones. It's going to affect your nervous system. If it goes too low and you're on this roller coaster, it can throw you into this fight or flight mode. It can create lots of cortisol and stress hormones, and it can drain your metabolism and all the other hormones of the body. And so the other reason I really like talking about blood sugar, and a lot of places, times I start here, is because it's something that we can really control ourselves. This is something that just using diet, using lifestyle, there's so much that we can do to immediately start feeling better. And I just have to say that this is can be a simple topic when you think about its blood sugar. It's something we all know about it a little bit. But I got to tell you that people are coming in all the time, nonstop, and they're having these weird symptoms of waking up in the middle of the night, or they're having, dizziness and headaches and migraines and fatigue, and just that maybe they have diabetes and cardiovascular issues. But a lot of them are on this blood sugar roller coaster. So if we can get off this blood sugar roller coaster, wow, so much can change, can happen just when things are more stable. Hey, Kelly.
Hi.
Welcome. And so, let's just go. I'm going to share my screen and we'll start the presentation. And, today is going to be fun because we're going to go through just some basic blood sugar stuff, talking about hypo and hyperglycemia. But we will also talk about, just really what to do at the root level to really affect change so our blood sugar can be much more stable and regulated without having to worry so much about being so nitpicky about what you're eating and eating multiple times per day. Because as we'll talk about, this is a sign of something deeper going on. And then also we will actually dive into just a little more depth than I've done before, just about these various superfoods and medicines that we have at our disposal to be able to use for our health. There's so many from all around the world, and maybe we live in a really toxic world, and that's a shame, but we have these superfoods and medicinal ingredients and extracts from all around the world to be able to support us in our health journey, in this health battle, I would say, a lot of the times. And so we're going to talk about how to make these superfood health elixirs at home as a way to balance blood sugar, but also deal with a lot of the adrenal issues that are going on to give you a more steady supply of energy as well. And so I'm excited to do that. And then we'll have time for questions at the end. So if you guys have any questions or you want to talk about specific herbs or teas that you guys are liking, I'd love to hear from you guys, what you guys are drinking and what you guys are doing, how you make your own elixir for those of you that are already doing that. And so let's get going here. Okay, and so we're going to talk about just getting off the blood sugar roller coaster as we talked about. And when we talk about this, we can talk about hyperglycemia first of all. And hyperglycemia is when you're getting too much, high blood sugar into the system. And this glycemic index is a great way to know what to eat to prevent this roller coaster from starting. So, this glycemic index here, we have things like white breads that are refined and that go very quickly into the system to raise that blood sugar. And that raised blood sugar can be very healthy, as we'll talk about in a second. It can cause a lot of problems just throughout the body because glucose is a really toxic molecule, actually, when it's in excess. So it's kind of like jet fuel. We use it to fuel all the mitochondria, all the cells of our body. So it's very important, obviously, we need it. But, if we have too much of it, it can really cause a lot of stress. It starts to glycosylate, meaning it sticks on to these different receptors and cell membranes of the body and can cause damage. This is why when we get diabetes, we can get neuropathy, damage to the nerves. We can have nephropathy, damage to the kidneys. And we can have damage into the eyes, the retinopathy, because these are all very small little capillaries that are very sensitive to this oxidative stress. And so when we eat a big kind of refined sugary carb snack, that shoots it all into the system. And if our body is good and healthy, we release insulin to bring that back down. And then we can store it in the cells and utilize it for energy. But as people get more and more, have more metabolic problems and disease, we have more and more insulin resistant. It's not able to do that. So the blood sugar just gets out of control, causing a lot of problems. So we talk about glycemic index, just simply saying that certain things will cause that spike and certain things will not, and will be just much more smooth and flow throughout the day. And so we start with the whites at the top, which are probably the ones that are not the best for you. And these also include really, really sweet fruits and things like that. Then we have more whole grain. These have much more fiber. They're still carbs, but they slowly introduce it into the system. And so, having some starchy vegetables, especially as the fall, that's okay. It's not a big deal. We don't want to eat all that. Might want to add some ghee or some butter and some salt and things into it. But, this is definitely is better than refined sugars. And then we have other things here like, oatmeal and beans and legumes and lentils. You can see these are much, much lower glycemic index here. And then the nuts, they're even better. It's very high protein, high fat, very, low carb for the most part. And eventually we get to the vegetables. These don't really have too much caloric content in general, but then a lot of them just have all these nutrients and micronutrients and minerals and vitamins. I remember my dad always saying, and when I was growing up, is like, yeah, why would you eat lettuce? It's just it's empty calories. There's no energy. There's nothing in it. And this is kind of something that a lot of people think a lot of times. I think definitely maybe in the olden days, it's all about calories. But the vegetables not only have these calories and the fiber to slowly introduce it into the system, but it has all the minerals, vitamins, and nutrients that we need to really heal the body and to do all the metabolic processes. And so again, when we have these high GI glycemic index foods here, we have this rapid rise of this blood sugar, and that can cause a lot of problems like I was just talking about. And then when we have low glycemic ones, it doesn't go up very high. It's able to stay very balanced here, not causing so much damage and stress on the system. And so this is the blood sugar roller coaster that a lot of people are on every single day. And so we started off in the morning, say we have oatmeal or fruit, some cereal, maybe just a coffee or a juice. Sometimes these are perceived as healthy, but they're really just carbs and sugar. And so this will shoot this blood sugar way up, and just as fast as it goes up, it's going to come back down. And when it comes back down, this is just as stressful. So when it goes high, this is that hyperglycemia, the high insulin, more fat storage and brain fog, and eventually diabetic consequences. But then, the hypoglycemia, I like to focus on this a little bit because this is something that a lot of people deal with, and it's not talked about as much actually, but it's just as damaging for yourself long term. So, when we're not getting good enough blood sugar to our body and to our brain, this can lead to a lot of stress because our mitochondria feed on this glucose to make energy in every cell of the body. And so especially the brain, we have more mitochondria, more energetic needs in the brain than anywhere else. If we don't have that glucose, it's going to lead to a lot of mental health and psychiatric and mood imbalances long term as well. And so definitely, very important to get that main nutrient there. And when it goes low like this, what do? We get dizzy, or we get faint, we get irritable, we get hangry sometimes. And, this, fatigue and things can really cause us to crave more carbs and more sugar to get that blood sugar back up. And so we want to address this because when that happens, it just shoots out. We eat all this food, we go up again, we start the roller coaster all over again. So some people are going through this multiple times per day, and it's really stressful, especially when we go low, because again, our brain is dying, we don't have enough sugar. And so what happens if we don't eat, especially, we start shooting out a bunch of cortisol and adrenaline. These are these stress hormones that really save our body, save our brain. But unfortunately, it throws us into fight or flight mode to be able to do that. So all the blood flow from the digestion, all the energy from the detox and the repair and maintenance activities of the body, all go into the fight or flight cascade just for survival. And so, when that happens, it's like whipping the horse, and your adrenal battery pack just gets drained more and more. Your hormones get drained, your metabolism gets inhibited, your thyroid gets shot. There's a lot of consequences to this long term, and leading to more weight loss and more inflammation, actually, and suppresses your immune system. So a lot of bad things when we're shooting out this stress hormone cortisol. So one of the most important things to do is to prevent that hypoglycemic event. So a lot of people that have anxiety disorders, or they're having headaches and other things going on regularly, this is something that's going on. They're just going hypoglycemic in the middle of the day. And a lot of people waking up in the middle of the night, which we'll talk about, the same things happening. It's, crashing in the middle of the night, and they're waking up because of that adrenaline and cortisol response. So, we're going to go into the next one here. I want to talk about how this works a little bit, of why this cortisol drains all the other hormones here. Is that when cholesterol makes the precursor, is a precursor to make all the other hormones in the body. And so we can make this cortisol to adapt to stress. But when we do that, we're stealing all the hormones to go all down this pathway, because they're all connected. And so if we're going down this way, we're not maintaining our, actual blood pressure, for example. A lot of times we get hypovolemic, meaning we have low blood pressure, and this causes more headaches and more dizzy, more kind of mental health issues here. Some people tend towards hypertension, hyperglycemia. These are excessive body types. But then there's people that tend towards hypoglycemia and hypotension. Those are more deficient body types. And so this is good to know about yourself. When you are stressed and not doing well and you're getting sick, which way do you lend? And a lot of people will get, low blood pressure. And so this is also takes away from all the testosterone and the estrogen. And so especially through menopause, a lot of patients are having a lot of hot flashes and night sweats. And these things are due to hormonal imbalances partly, but blood sugar is a huge, big part of it. And a lot of people are just having these blood sugar issues that's exacerbating, draining all these hormones more and more, because again, it keeps on going down this entire cortisol cascade and doesn't go to, the hormones, doesn't care about your libido or flourishing as a human being. It cares about your survival. And it just drains the system more and more. And so what we really want here is a healthy blood sugar level here, where, it's not going too far up and it's not going too far down. And we're staying within this normal range here that is healthy. And so when we do this, this is probably one of the best ways just to increase our metabolism. And so these days, a lot of people, come to me and they're avoiding fats, for example. So it's a common thing, especially, maybe teenage women, sometimes that they don't want to gain weight. They want to, lose weight. So they'd think that they want to increase or actually decrease fat. They don't want fat. They want to get fat out of their diet. It makes sense on some level, but from the actual research and the physiology, that's very much untrue. And these fats are extremely, extremely important to create this normal blood sugar here. And so, these are very dense sources of energy, these fats, for example, that last many, many hours, sometimes 6, 7, 8 hours. And so if we can get them into our system, this can really stabilize us up and down. And how this increases metabolism is that your body feels safe. And it feels like it's not constantly going through this fight or flight mode. It knows you're going to feed it again, and you're going to get this glucose into your system to feed your cells. So with this comfortability and the safety, your body is able to increase your metabolism, jumpstart your mitochondria, and all the process of the body to be your most vibrant self. But the opposite, again, if we're going into the hyperglycemic and the hypoglycemic in this roller coaster, our body doesn't know the next time it's going to get a meal. So it slows down its metabolism. So it, it saves it for a rainy day. It stores it away as fat. And so again, one of the best ways just to increase your metabolism and get your thyroid working and optimized is to balance your blood sugar as well. And, a lot of times people, again, focus on the thyroid. The thyroid is very important, and, I deal with hypothyroidism regularly. But if the adrenals are off, we always want to focus on that first and foremost, because cortisol, when it's shooting into the system, that's that stress survival hormone. It really, that immediately inhibits the thyroid. And it doesn't matter how our thyroid is doing, because our adrenals are going to fight or flight mode. So we can do all the things to try to treat the thyroid, but if we don't actually balance the adrenals and this cortisol release and just what's causing this cortisol release, which is not just physical stuff like blood sugar, it's obviously psycho, emotional, other physiological gut issues, infections, etc., will cause this as well. And so, with this normal blood sugar, we want to stabilize things. So having more, healthy carbs, fats, and proteins is very helpful. And so we're going to go into that. And, as we'll start out with carbs, we want to take away a lot of the refined carbs and sugars. These are the things that, really start the roller coaster in the first place. So we want to take them out of your diet if we can. Instead, we're getting carbs from all of our vegetables, all colors of the rainbow. And a lot of these have fiber to slowly introduce into the system and everything we need to heal. And then, we can have more carbs that are complex as well, like quinoa that has much more protein and things and fiber as well. But then as far as proteins and things go, we can talk about that, is that, we get good quality meats, and sometimes with the fat, if it's grass-fed and good quality, that's a good part of a balanced diet. And then eggs, and we have nuts and seeds, and we have legumes and things as well. And as far as fats, these are the most important, proteins and fats even more so especially when we're going hypoglycemic, when things are really unstable here. We want to get these fats in. That can be avocados with our meals and olives, and just using oils to cook our foods, adding oils into our foods or into, our drinks, which we'll talk about. This can be extremely helpful. And a lot of times I tell patients to take a tablespoon of coconut oil, or if they're not adding into their meals, take it like medicine if your blood sugar is really unstable right now. That's going to make you feel more satiated when you eat, so you're less likely to go for that carb or sugar. And more importantly, in between your meals, it's going to prevent you from really crashing. And that is that big cortisol response, right? We want to stop that. And so, you might try adding a tablespoon of coconut oil, or add some collagen to a drink or smoothie. These are great sources of protein and fat. They're easily implementable. And then we want to also set our metabolic rate at the beginning of the day, because whatever we eat for that first meal sets the rate for the rest of the day. So if we start the roller coaster continues up and down, up and down. And then if we start with a good, healthy, high protein, high fat meal, and not too many refined carbs, that's going to be much better. So this could be dinner for breakfast, or having an omelet or eggs and avocados with side of vegetables. You can have a little bit of some berries or some low glycemic fruits, for example. And there's so many, gluten-free paleo options of breads and things that have much more nuts and things, more protein that they're made out of. And so we also, during this period of time when we're kind of more unstable, sometimes we will actually have to eat more regularly, and that's okay. So you just need to listen to your body, and maybe you need to eat every 3 hours right now. When you get a little stronger, hopefully that's going to be extensive, and you can go long periods of time without eating, and you can start intermittent fasting and doing many other kind of more advanced dieting techniques. But this is, our second community class. So we're trying to stabilize things first and make sure that this is good before we do anything more advanced, because that can actually be more stressful for your body if you're trying to fast and, you aren't ready for it. Your adrenals are very weak already still. And so, really, that's one of the most important things that we need to talk about, is that it's not all diet. The reason why we have these blood sugar imbalances is because, definitely there's food portions, but it's the amount of stress and adrenal stress and exhaustion that we have. So the adrenals are usually very weak, and they usually are the ones that allow us to be able to actually be able to stabilize our blood sugar, give us our energy when we need it. And when it's low and it's not working well, it's not able to do that. So we want to really strengthen the adrenals at the root. And so that's what we're going to talk about very quickly right here. And so again, the adrenals are the battery pack that really allows us to adapt to the stresses of our world. And a lot of times we're burning through this battery pack pretty early these days. The Chinese medicine, they say this kidney jing is like this energy that you're born with, and it never comes back once you burn it. And I don't really believe in that. I definitely feel like we rebuild these adrenals. We have all the tools and the techniques to be able to do that. But it's harder once it is drained. You want to prevent yourself from getting to that point. We go through college and life and burning the candles at both ends, thinking we can just keep on adapting. But we're burning through this adrenal reserve unknowingly a lot of times. And then when we have a really stressful situation, or when women are going through pregnancy or menopause, they have a lot harder time. They have more rates of miscarriage and more postpartum depression, more nausea and fatigue during pregnancy or afterwards. They will have a lot of hot flashes and night sweats and other menopausal symptoms. If you have a strong adrenal gland and your hormones are nice and balanced, you're healthy and happy before you go into these things, that can really make things a lot easier. And so we are going to just talk about some ways to refill this battery pack here, and we don't want to over exercise. Sometimes, people are tired and they only get energy when they're working out because we're getting all that adrenaline. These a lot of type A personalities will come in with just extreme adrenal exhaustion and blood sugar imbalances. And they're just trying to do more and more and push themselves. But this can worsen the adrenal health for sure. Learning to say no and prioritizing self-care, having boundaries. You have what for yourself. Even self-care is not looking at the cell phone and responding to things until you've done some kind of self-care in the morning first and foremost. Doing something relaxing every day, stress management, breath work, meditation, yoga, nature, relationships, and obviously just really restorative and good sleep is important as well. So whatever helps you to stay grounded and calm, that is going to be helpful for your adrenals long term. There's obviously different supplements and B vitamins and magnesium and vitamin C and other things that we can use to support that as well, though. And so, sleep and circadian rhythm, there's certain times to be able to do different things that are just optimal to live in balance with a circadian rhythm. In Chinese medicine, I'm not a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, but I study it and we look at it a lot of times. It's helpful. And they believe in every 2-hour increments, different areas of the body and organ systems are tonified and working and doing their daily duties and maintenance. And so actually, between usually around 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., this is the time when the adrenals are really, really healing. So you want to go to sleep early enough to take advantage of this time to be able to do that. And so naturally, normally the sun would go down and we would go to sleep. But these days, because of the blue wavelength light, that's inhibiting a lot of this production here. So we want to get in the sun during the day because that makes a bunch of serotonin. And that makes us feel good and happy. And that same serotonin is converted into melatonin at night to allow us to have a very deep and restorative sleep. So if you don't get enough sun during the day, you're not going to sleep as deeply at night. And so what happens a lot of times, is that, again, that people wake up in the middle of the night. And, this can be due to a variety of different things. So sometimes I have patients that wake up in the middle of the night because they're toxic, so that their liver is really stressed. They always wake up between 1 and 3. So this is interesting and helpful. But really the 90% of the time, it is blood sugar imbalances actually. And so, the body from dinner to breakfast, that's one of the longest periods of time that you're not getting any energy. You're not getting any caloric intake or food. And so, this is going to usually crash at some point if your adrenals are weak. And then in response, you have this big adrenaline response to wake you up. And you might wake up feeling hungry or a little restless or anxious or hot, or your heart might be racing. And these are all signs that you just had adrenaline release to save your blood sugar. And so, now I just want to talk about my favorite subject, and this is something that I do very regularly, if not every day, in some way or another. And, it's to really just integrate these healthy elixirs into our life. And there's lots of different ways that we can do this. And this addresses actually both of these at the same time. That's why I like it, because it's going to really help balance our blood sugar, because we're going to have lots of proteins and fats in there. We're also going to have a lot of superfood and medicinal extracts that have a lot of different medicinal benefits. And so we're able to really use a lot of these adaptogenic herbs, which we'll talk about, to really support our energy and stress resilience and heal up our adrenals as well. And so, we're going to turn our medicines into food and food into medicine. And so why do we use elixirs? Well, it really depends on how you want to make your elixir. So a lot of times I tell people just to really decide what the purpose of this elixir is going to be first and foremost. Where in your body do you need support? How do you feel right now? And what kind of boost might be helpful for you right now? And so we can make different health elixirs and curtail them in a very artistic, individualized process of however you want to do it to encourage weight loss and reduce inflammation throughout the body. So that's like the golden milks of turmeric and things, balancing hormones using things like maca roots, which are great for helping with energy and hormones. Things that encourage sleep, this could be like reishi, medicinal mushroom, or chamomile, and those will help release and diminish anxiety and stress as well. We can make things before we go to sleep to prevent us from waking up in the middle of the night. We have things that are coffee replacements that give us lots of energy, like cacao and chaga. And we have things to just wind us down, to relax us and improve our creativity as well. So there's so many different benefits here that we can focus on. And they taste pretty good, actually, especially as you get good at making them. And so we have these different elixir components here. And so the base is usually a tea of some sort, okay? And so this tea can be an herbal tea or a caffeinated tea. For the most part, I'm trying to reduce caffeine in people's diets in general, to not as an everyday thing at the very least, because this is kind of like draining the bank account of your adrenals. It may feel good initially, but we're kind of underlying draining more of the system. And so, there's lots of cool herbal options that still can give you energy. So like things like peppermint, chamomile, no, that's probably not the type of one that you would want in the morning. But there are things like holy basil and Gynostemma, which I'll tell you about, which are some of my favorites, that they're considered these adaptogens. And then we have these medicinal powders, all these just things that have all these medicinal properties, and they're in powder form a lot of the times, and we can just add them into our shakes and our elixirs as a base. And we want all the caloric content. We want the fats, proteins, and carbs. So we'll go into each of this right now. And you can also get some spices in there just to spice it up and make it taste good. So what's wrong with caffeinated coffees and black tea? I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong. I have tons of different black teas, and I enjoy them from time to time. They definitely can give you a big boost. But the thing, if you're taking caffeine all the time, this can really drain your adrenals, that energy reserve of the body, because there's no energy in caffeine necessarily. It just kind of whips your adrenals, whips that horse to make it run. And, it can run for a period of time, and when it's just adapting to stress. But if you're doing that all the time, you're in turbo mode all the time, that's going to drain your system. And so, these adaptogens are cool because we'll talk about it, but it helps you get more energy, but it doesn't drain these adrenals. It actually helps you put more in your adrenal bank. And so we want to reduce this production of stress hormones like the adrenaline and cortisol. That's what's causing this energy, and that increases a lot of anxiety. It can cause a lot more dehydration, and a lot of coffees are also very moldy. That's just something to keep in mind, is they know that these coffee beans are held in these silos a lot of the times, and these silos will be filled with fungus because they're kind of moist environments for long periods of time, sometimes months before they go on to sale or packaged. And they kill off all the fungus, they spray them, but the mycotoxins and things are still there. So that's why if you are going to do coffee, you might do like get a mycotoxin free one. And then we also, avoiding coffee can get you off the roller coaster, which is the point of what we're talking about. But if we are going to do coffee, you can have it bulletproof style. This is a very important and popular concept right now that Dave Asprey started, or at least really popularized. And it's just adding some fat and some protein into your coffee. And so even the English have always been doing this, is why you have a white tea when you're adding some milk or something like that into it. So you can do that, but we actually usually enhance it. We get collagen, which is a really good source of protein. That's just a white powder that thickens things up. And it's really good for stabilizing blood sugar over long periods of time. Also great for joints and good for the gut, good for detox. There's a lot of stuff. And then we have things like MCT oil, which is the extract of coconut oil that is great specifically for energy production, all the cells of your body, and is a great fat to give you long, steady energy for long periods of time. So if you're gonna be doing this, you want to at least add some fat, add some protein, add some collagen into that coffee. And that makes it so it doesn't go on the roller coaster. Things will be much more smooth. The energy will be distributed to your body for a much longer period of time. Okay, and so, as far as caffeine substitutes goes, like I was saying, there's a whole bunch, and there's a lot of pre-made blends and things. I'm going to teach you how to make your own. That's way better. It's going to be way more cost effective if you just buy the raw ingredients, and also allows your creativity to go, and you can make different ones. But there's a lot of pre-made stuff for people like coffee. Dandy Blend, Ticino, these are great ones that taste like coffee, and they use dandelion root, for example. Cocoa Tropic is a cacao-based one with lion's mane and maca and a bunch of other adaptogenic herbs. And we have a brand called Four Sigmatics that has tons of these, which I'll link you guys to. If we are going to have caffeinated teas, we might have a green or oolong tea. This is a little less caffeine. Yerba mate is another option there. But really trying not to have too much caffeine, just do it in balance, like we've discussed. Cacao is one of my favorite more caffeine substitutes that are more stimulating. It has 40 times the antioxidants. There's blueberries. We have more magnesium than any other food, which is a critical mineral that we're all deficient in highly. And then, it's just chocolatey, and it's what chocolate is made of. We all love cacao in some way. It makes things taste great. So cacao is a big superfood. I'll add into a lot of my elixirs. And then, we have those adaptogenic teas. So even if you don't want to make an elixir, you can just have some of these different teas around. And there's many different herbs. But what I like about the adaptogenic teas is that you can get some of this support with energy and stress resilience that these adaptogens are known for, but in a simple tea leaf form that can be made very quickly. And so most adaptogens, as we'll talk about soon, are roots. And so most of them will come in powders or need to be extracted in some way. And so these are actually, the two adaptogenic teas that I love the best that are in leaf form that you can just have on board. And the holy basil is very peppery, and the Gynostemma is actually very sweet and things as well. So we can talk more about each one here. And holy basil is the queen of herbs, and it's been used in Ayurveda for a long time. It's called tulsi. It's a sacred plant in Hindu religions as well. And so, downtown, what is it called? Kalahanjis, they have this beautiful greenhouse, and the greenhouse is all filled with just holy basil. The entire greenhouse is just holy basil. It smells beautiful, and we have these beautiful pink flowers as well. So really good for anxiety and energy, and just as a nice replacement. It's very adaptable. It goes with everything else very well. It's a good black tea alternative, I would say. Gynostemma, or they call it blue ginseng, is really nice as well. This is something that has a lot of the ginsenosides. These are the active ingredients of ginseng. But ginseng can be pretty expensive, and it's also in a root form. But this is something that grows in the grasslands of China for very cheap and affordable. And it's something that still has these really great adaptogenic medicinal ingredients. It's also a little sweet, which I like about it. And so, as long as you don't over steep it, this one, you don't want to do too hot of a temperature, because that can actually make it extract these bitter compounds. But if you're just doing it at a regular temperature, more like a green tea, it can be very sweet as well. So people drink this before going to sleep, or they use it as a base of the elixir. And the reason why is that it's sweet. It's kind of a nice base in a way. And so it's got a lot of cool cardiovascular benefits as well. And then, we will mix this. And so we might have this tea base, or maybe we use just nut milk, or maybe we use just water. I mean, there's lots of options. You go as simple or as complicated as you want. That's the liquid portion. And then we might add in, if you have blood sugar issues, this is the base. You want collagen and MCT oil. And then you can add whatever other medicinal ingredient that we're about to talk about to customize the medicinal benefit of what you're trying to create. But this gives the caloric backbone to the elixir to allow it to stabilize. But there's other options as well. And so fats, you give any kind of ghee or flaxseed oil or even olive oil, different nut milks and creamers. There's that barista oat milk brand too that tastes very much like creamer that I like. You also can use cacao butter, which is the butter from the cacao fruit. And then as far as proteins, like I said, collagen is one of my favorites here, but you can add other things as well, even if it's just like a protein blend that has, it's rice protein or pea protein, but then it kind of makes it turn into a shake sort of. So it's not the best. I like my elixirs a little more liquidy, so it's not so thick, but definitely you can. And then you can add different just nut milks, and there's coconut manna is one of my favorite too. That's just coconut butter. And then carbs and sweeteners, we don't necessarily even have any carbs at all, but sometimes, you can add some sweetener like stevia or monk fruit extract. These are some of the best if you just need a little sweet there. Sometimes just a couple drops of stevia is all you need because it's hundreds of times sweeter than sugar. And stevia and monk fruit extract don't feed any of the fungus or bacteria, and it's not as much of a blood sugar issue. This is because very, very low glycemic index, if any at all, actually. But if you don't have any major issues, just a little maple syrup, honey, or throwing in a couple dates or goji berries or something can be great as well. Okay. Oh, I have to go back just because I want to talk about licorice tea just for a second. Is that licorice tea is a nice thing to have around. You buy it in root, but it's also very sweet. It's just a very sweet tea. And in Ayurveda and herbalism in general, we use licorice to tie herbal formulations together because it just has a lot of effects for the adrenals and so much more to adapt to stress, and it tastes good. So I like licorice tea as well. And so there's a variety of medicinal herbs and superfoods. This is where the art comes in. This is where, kind of having an intention can be helpful to know which ones you might want to play with. But the first category is my favorite. These are these adaptogens. And usually there's going to be one of these adaptogens in the superfood elixir of some sort. And so ashwagandha, that's Indian ginseng, great, very calming, relaxing, stabilizing, good for energy and hormones. Maca, that's Peruvian ginseng. That, is much more stimulating and known more for its role in breaking down estrogens, helping with hormonal balance and menopause, etc. It's very nutty flavor. It tastes very good, actually. That's probably my favorite easy first kind of superfood that I would recommend to play with. And then there's, regular ginsengs, Siberian ginseng or eleuthero. We can use things like medicinal mushrooms like reishi and lion's mane and things like that as well. Schisandra is also one of my favorites. It's a berry that's adaptogen, but very good for the liver, very good for the hormones as well. Cordyceps is cool. It's a fungus that grows and it attacks into an ant, and the ant, it takes control of its brain and it goes up the tree and it goes one of the highest points, and then the fungus bursts out of the ant's body, and then it turns into this cordyceps mushroom that we extract and put it into our foods. It's pretty crazy, but it's very potent and great for adrenal health. And then we also have anti-inflammatory. So inflammation is the root of all disease in many ways, right? So we want to get as many anti-inflammatory compounds in our body. We just do that through our foods, all colors of the rainbow, all herbs of different colors too. You can tell a lot about their properties just through the colors and things as well. But some of the common ones are like ginger and turmeric and boswellia, cat's claws, another great one. Things that are high in antioxidant. These things have a lot of color to them usually. So we have the blue butterfly pea. This is my favorite with my son, because he always he wants blue tea, and it might be a medicinal tea, but just because it's blue, he'll drink it and he likes it, and changes color and things too. These antioxidants, like I said, cacao is 40 times as much as blueberries. So matcha, all that green, all that ECGC, turmeric, got that curcumin in there, cinnamon, etc. Lots of calming, relaxing things like lavender, passion flower, and lemon balm. We can add a little CBD and things. We can get that as an isolate and add that. or to have a dropper directly into there. There's different detoxifying things like ginger and milk thistle and dandelion roots. Anything bitter, that's going to really help with these. So we make bitters. There's usually gentian. We have dandelion root. We have these other roots. And digestive support, peppermint, cardamom, some things like marshmallow root and ginger. Again, these things would be great. Energy and focus. These are really good ones here. So like ginkgo, bring blood flow to the brain. We have gotu kola, also that's like an adaptogen for the mind. Lion's mane has been shown to actually increase cognition and neurodevelopment, neuro repair, and also increase something called brain-derived neurotropic factor that really helps the brain heal and repattern itself. And we have bacopa. This is another great Ayurvedic herb, for the mind and things as well. So a lot of hormone balancing, so ashwagandha, shavarti, black cohosh, makaru, shashandra, these are all great ones here. And the immune boosting, reishi, probably one of my favorites there, and astragalus, also both key in just prevention for COVID or any other respiratory, infection. These are great, just boosting the innate immune system of the body. And then last time we talked about making an elderberry syrup. And so, that's great for the immune system, but you can use that as your, sweetener. A lot of times, just add that into your adaptogens and your elixirs here. And so I want to show you guys here just that we have an article if you want to dive a little deeper here. There is a video, it just kind of goes into how to make these a little bit more if you guys are interested. So you guys just go onto the website, integrativewellnessrx.com, and it goes through this, just everything that we talked about, but just in a little bit more detail as well, and how to really make a lot of these things. And then if you guys are interested, if you guys don't want to make it yourself or you want specific recommendations of what I think is the best quality stuff, you can just go to the virtual dispensary here. And this virtual dispensary will give you some instructions again, but it just has some access to some of the collagen, some of these things. Like if you're going to get one adaptogen, this is probably one of the better ones because it's pre-blended for you. It's got maca, it's got astragalus, it's got cordyceps, it's got some rhodiola. And so, I had a patient the other day, she bought some of these raw powders and she's like, oh, it doesn't taste very good because, you need to sweeten it and you need to know how to use them a little bit. But you have some basic other things here too. Like this makes a golden milk with turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon. We have a hot cacao with cordyceps. We have a reishi one to drink at night. We have this lion bane. So if you want to make it yourself, I think that's the best way. It saves money and it's kind of fun. But if you want to just buy something that's already pre-made, you just add it into hot water, maybe add some MCT oil, that's great as well. And, that supports the clinic and supports these community classes for anything that you guys purchase, of course. All right. And so now we're going to just close up here, but get some questions going. And so, the next one that we're going to do in December of these Vibrant Life community classes, these are going to be on one, healthy gut, healthy body, healthy life. And so just some gut health stuff. This is probably the most important one. I'm not going to dive so deep as we'll be going into the cleanse, but we're going to go overview. We probably could talk for hours just on gut health, but definitely if you have any questions or problems, this would be a good one to attend and ask your questions at the end. The last one in January would be just thriving in a toxic world, just recognizing that we have hundreds of toxins that we're exposed to every single day, approximately 150 as a male, but over double as a female. And so we weren't meant to live in this toxic stew. And so we really want to know ways how to get these toxins out and what to eat and how to reduce exposure in the first place. And so now we're going to talk about the Vibrant Life Community Cleanse here. And this is what we're leading up to here. It's starting in February. And some of you were actually in this as well. So I'm glad that you guys are coming to the classes as well. And we really just having 2 months of 1 month really focused on deep gut work and the second month focused on really good detoxification. And these are the key base systems of the body that create all the inflammation in the body. And so we're able to reset, repair these base systems of the body, all the other systems start falling back into place by themselves. So this is something that I do at least once a year anyways, just to keep myself in optimal health. And I would love for you guys to join me. It was a fun process. We all had lots of laughs and learned a lot. And this will be starting probably mid-February, a little bit after Valentine's Day. So I hope you guys will join us there. And so okay, so there are just these sessions once a week. There will be all the supplements are included as well. We have a weekly office hour to individualize things. You have continued access to all the handouts and everything. And then you have 10% off anything that you need as well. And so join us if that is interesting for you. And we're not gonna make the elixirs today. Sorry, my kitchen is just too crazy here, but I do have the video that I shot that goes into detail about all of that as well. And now I just want to thank you guys for being here, and then also just open it up. If there's any questions that I can answer for you guys, I'm totally here. But also I'd love to hear from you guys to just hear more about what kind of adaptogens and superfoods and herbs and teas that you guys have been playing with, maybe recipes that you want to share with others that excites you, that you feel like have helped you. So Kelly, are you making any of these elixirs yet?
Well, I'm not making any. I mean, I do put cacao and maca in my smoothies, but I do want to put a plug in for that Metagenics golden milk because I have that most nights, and it definitely has helped me sleep better. I used to make golden milk, and this is just so easy and delicious that I really like to use that Metagenics version.
Oh, good, great. Thank you for the feedback. I love golden milk before bed as well. But yeah, so you see, these are elixirs. These are more liquids that you can make, but you know, making them into shakes, having more protein and things is a great way to do it as well.
Will you remind me what that adaptogenic blend, that powder you recommended, what's that called?
I think it was called, Everyday Adaptogen. And, you know, again, a lot of this stuff will be just, you can go onto the website and you can click on it, and there'll be very specific links and recommendations there for anything.
Okay,
and no pressure. You guys can just make these things yourself, but having some of the basics to be able to do that makes it easier.
I have a question. Well, a comment. I've been purchasing the, gosh, I can't even remember it's from. I get it at Sprouts. It's organic coffee with ashwagandha and ashwagandha adaptogen. I think it's the brand is one that you recommend, and it's escaping me right now. But I like to mix that instead of coffee, do a bulletproof coffee, but do that with coconut milk, and then my collagen, chocolate and vanilla collagen.
Yeah.
Mix that and a little bit of pumpkin pie spice, and blend that all together, and that's really good. But as far as the coffee is concerned, I think I remember you saying organic coffee. If you are gonna do coffee, that organic coffee is better because it doesn't have the mold and stuff in it. Is there any certain type of organic coffee that's better than another?
Yeah, well, it gets complicated here because I don't think just because it's organic, it means that it doesn't have mold, unfortunately. Organic probably would be in reference ideally to the growing conditions, and if it's using pesticides and, you know, these herbicides and things in the growing of the coffee. But then again, the storage there is important, and that's what determines if it's mycotoxin free or not. And some people are really sensitive to this, some people are not. I definitely have patients that get really histamine release and itchy and different things and don't feel very good when they have certain poor quality coffees. But I like that. That's cool. You know, this is an example. You don't have to not have coffee, but they add that ashwagandha in there. And this is a great adaptogen that kind of is very kind of more relaxing and calm in some ways to balance the cortisol, to prevent that stress hormone from really going up. So you can still get that boost, but it minimizes some of the bad effects of that potent coffee. That's great.
Dr. Moore, can I ask you a question? about when you were talking about blood sugars and
Of course.
when you were doing the roller coaster. So you were saying to try to keep your blood sugar more level, right, while you're eating more lower index foods, as in, healthier fruits and vegetables. So my question is, when your blood sugar does spike, so what is considered high? Is it over 150 or is it like 245? Someone that doesn't have diabetes.
Yeah, you're right that everyone's different. And so, too low would be anytime, ideally we might be around 86 or something like that. That would be a pretty good blood sugar. And then when it goes at baseline, when we aren't eating, when we're fasting, but again, a lot of times it's going way too low. And this is another sign of adrenal issues. If you have adrenal issues, your battery pack is drained, your baseline blood sugar is usually going to be lower. But then as far as the hyperglycemia, after you eat, you might look at a postprandial blood sugar, and this can jump up, to 150 to 180 even. And, it's that can be normal if you're eating more carbs and sugars and things like that. It can jump up pretty high, and that's not necessarily the best. So we want to minimize that. We want to keep it maybe below 150. But at the same time, it's really how your body reacts to that too. A lot of times people's that physiology is going well, you'll shoot up that insulin and you'll grab all the glucose and get into the system for energy. And so this is a cool tip here, is that I'm into like life hacking and biohacking, it's called. And so little tip is like, if you're going to eat that sugary snack this winter, and you're going to Thanksgiving, you're going to eat that pumpkin, you're going to eat that pumpkin pie. Well, you might do jumping jacks for like 30 seconds or a minute before you do that. And what that does, it just kind of primes your cardiometabolic system to just be ready to just absorb all that glucose, and then just gets it out of your bloodstream pretty quickly because your body's ready to utilize it. Also, obviously, 10 minutes after, walking for 10 to 20 minutes after you eat a big meal that's why that's so good for you as well. You're utilizing that glucose instead of leaving it stuck there to damage your cells and cause problems.
So, and just to piggyback on that, I've been researching and reading, because sometimes my fasting glucose, blood sugars when I wake up are, not 86. So what I had read is to do something like you just said, like a 10-minute brisk walk or some kind of jumping jack or something like that, and it brings down your glucose. Now, I'm not an exercise anything, so like I haven't done that yet. I'm gonna try it, and see if that helps. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Sure. And two comments there real quick is that, it doesn't need to be a really long thing. It can, again, be 30 seconds. That's enough to kind of get metabolism, get your body flowing, oxygenation and blood flow to the body and brain for a good start to the day. The second thing, there's something called the dawn effect, and you have you'll have a high blood sugar right when you wake up in the morning. And when this is happening, you have to just make sure you're not going hypoglycemic in the night, because a lot of times, we have a crash and then we have this big adrenaline cortisol release, which then falsely elevates the blood sugar to be too high. But also that can be a sign of just insulin resistance continuing to develop and diabetes worsening.
Yeah, I think I have resistance, but I don't know. I might need to talk to you more.
Well, that's why we're here. Well, anyone else have any questions or comments or wants to share what they're doing with superfoods or their favorite tea or anything like that right now?
I really like the holy basil. Like I tried that since our.
No, I'm sorry. Go, Lisa. Shelley will.
I tried the holy basil after our last community cleanse, and that's kind of a go-to tea now that I do. I like it mixed with some coconut cream to give it more of a creamy taste, and usually I put a little bit of sweetener in it because it's a little bitter. Sometimes it seems like I've had to play with the temperature so that it doesn't get bitter, but I really like that tea. I want to try the other one that you said is sweet though. So I need to find that one.
Yeah, well, great. Thanks for sharing, Lisa. I love holy basil too. I mean, if you can go to the stores under Tulsi and they have it with peppermint, with ashwagandha, with turmeric, with it's just like it's a nice base for everything else. For whatever reason, it's really really nice. Gynostemma is a little harder to find, honestly. That's something that is from China, and there's different places you can purchase it. But now on Amazon, I'm pretty sure you can find it. Just like 5 years ago, it was hard to find some of this stuff, and there's only one brand, and you had to import it sometimes. And now that this whole thing's exploded, we have access to so many cool superfoods and herbs from all around the world. And Shelley, did you want to share?
Yeah, all I was gonna say is I drink lemon balm tea every night, so I didn't know what you knew about that, or if you have a better recommendation kind of to relax and get ready for bed. You mentioned several, but
Sure. Well, what your body is telling you is good is the answer for you. Everyone's different, and if you really
Okay.
like lemon balm, that's great. I love lemon balm. I think it's they call it Melissa, so sometimes it's almost like a endearing term for this herb, like that's the Latin name, and it's Melissa. And she is very very sweet, and it has a nice lemony citrus kind of very uplifting vibe. So it's very good for depression. Actually, there's a lot of research on how it increases neurotransmitters, and that way it's also very relaxing and calming. And so I definitely, like lemon balm. And lemon balm, you can grow it very easily. It's kind of like peppermint, and it can take over your garden. So you have to watch it's related to peppermint. But this is something I planted recently, and I'm excited to get some of those teas.
good. The other thing, I take a Gaia capsule that's like an adrenal blend.
Uh-huh.
And it has ashwagandha, rhodiola, and holy basil as kind of a base. I've taken it for years, and I really like that. I think the powder you had on the site that you showed was a Gaia powder, but this is a capsule. So I'll have to look at the ingredients and the one on your site.
Sure. Here's two good tips here. One, these powders are going to be less expensive for you in the long term, for sure, by a lot. You can buy a pound of ashwagandha for the same amount you'd buy a bottle, probably. So keep those things in mind. But then also too, really, when we're talking about adaptogens and integrating them into our life daily, this is great to support our body, but we want to rotate adaptogens. Because adaptogens, if you take the same one every single day for months and months at a time, like you've been doing, we might not get the full medicinal benefit as much anymore, really. Okay. So it's good to cycle your adaptogens. So I will, the different times of the year, cycle through different things, or depending how I'm doing, sometimes, I will cycle through things that are more bringing me heat and giving me energy and keeping me warm, and during the winter and things like that. But a lot of times, my body time, I'm excessively already in my mind that I have all this excess heat already. So I like more cooling, calming, relaxing herbs like ashwagandha, for example, or reishi, medicinal mushroom. And so right now, this time of year is very stressful. So I might make more reishi lattes and things like that to get that into the system. And so, you can just play with that and change it up to how you're doing and what you want.
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, great questions. Well, I'll leave it for any. Sure.
Really quick, the holy basil, I've been experiencing, and we'll talk soon, but I've been experiencing a lot of anxiety, my lack of focus, lack of concentration, kind of all over the place again. And the holy basil, is that what you would recommend to bring me back? Should I, or any one of those that you showed over another one?
Sure. And so, first I would say that I don't know if I would rely on any one of these herbs to take you back out of that restless, crazy mind that we all have. in itself, but it definitely can be a piece of the puzzle and can be helpful. And I think there could be a lot that could be good for you. I think, like you said, the holy basil is very nice at that. That is to help calm and relax. It's used in a lot of anxiety blends as well. What's cool about it is it's not a suppressant. It doesn't depress you and it doesn't make you tired. It actually can give you energy. And that's what makes these adaptogens so cool. They have this biphasic normalizing effect. And holy basil definitely can help focus the mind and things. So, you can make a blend of holy basil and something called Gotu Kola. Gotu Kola is a really great Ayurvedic herb. It's an adaptogen of the mind. Like I was saying, it helps increase circulation and things into the brain. You could add some ginkgo in there, and maybe even a little peppermint just to make it taste good. That also is very helpful to stimulate the mind and the body. But then you could also add a little chamomile or some other kind of herb that has more calming, relaxing if the anxiety is high.
Okay, I'll give that a try. Thank you.
Yeah, but just play with it. Everyone's different. The Gynostemma is also great too. That's both of those are calming adaptogens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When we were on the cleanse, that innate GI response, that glutamine, that really helped calm me. Phyllis, do you still take that? Or did you notice when we were on it that helped?
No, I didn't. I think I was on a different one, similar.
Oh,
I had
okay.
already started, so I was on a different one.
Well, I just found that to be like magic.
Is that the one that you mixed and it was kind of pinkish color?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of people say that. And, a lot of people say the exact opposite. And what's interesting is the amino acid, L-glutamine, that's used to repair the enterocytes of the damaged tight junctions in the leaky gut and intestinal permeability, make the precursors to these neurotransmitters in our body. They make glutamate, which is the excitatory neurotransmitter, but that same excitatory neurotransmitter is converted into GABA, the main inhibitory neurotransmitter of the brain that calms and relaxes things. So depending on your genetics, some people have L-glutamine and, it doesn't really affect it. Things are balanced, things are good. Some people, can convert it very fast in the GABA, so they actually get more relaxed and tired because of it. And some people, it can be stimulating and actually cause problems. Most people, 90% or more, probably doesn't cause anything. But, it's depending on your own unique genetic and biochemistry. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this was fun, guys. I hope you guys learned something new. And, a lot of you, we've been talking about some of this stuff, but try to go a little bit more into some of the variety of options we have to be able to play with these things. So again, tune in a future month if you guys want to learn about other stuff. But a lot of you have been doing some of this gut detox work already. But, share it with your friends or family or anyone else you think it's helpful. I'm going to be doing this once a month, just as my way to give back and just answer questions and connect with everyone. So glad you guys are all here. It's good to see everyone's face. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time.